Hi, I'm Harry, and I'm here to tell you that if you're a geek celebrating Geek Week, you might not be. Let me explain. If you have a quick look back at the grand old history of the word geek, then we can see that it's never really had a particularly happy past. Throughout history, geek has meant freak, fool, eccentric, but also with a positive side on of one who is able to fool or outsmart others. But also you have the underlying theme of this is an unpleasant person to be around. People in the mainstream are very uncomfortable with them. They are freaks. In the 19th century, geek became attached specifically to circus freaks. This included people who were naturally freaks, like the bearded lady, but more specifically, it focused on people who, essentially, in the public eyes at least, in the public's eye at least, they chose to be geeks. They chose to be freaks. So these were people with geek skills, like for example the Fire Eater, or the one big example that people like to hear is the guy who bit the heads off live chickens. In the 90s, 80s sort of time, you got these kids who were interested in computers and fantasy comics and academics, and back then that was freaky. They chose these things, academics, comics, and computers, which at the time had no mainstream appeal for kids whatsoever, really. Particularly computers, if you compare them to now, because back then they were both basically just these unsociable little blocks. And that is why geeks were called geeks, because they were academics and they were loners, they were not accepted by the mainstream, they were freaks. So, in a world where geek is cool and accepted and mainstream and celebrated, Geek Week, what the hell is a geek? Well, okay then, I can accept that, language moves on, it evolves, words get redefined and repurposed, and that's just what's happened with geek, right? That's got it good? No, because there's these new people, and I don't think they're geeks. These new geeks were brought up on all the sort of geek values being cool and accepted. So, you see the problem I'm having here? What we've got is we've got two groups, two very different kinds of geek. So, in the end, I still have no idea what a geek is, but I can show you the difference between these two kinds of geek. The first point is probably the most important defining point, and that's how socially concerned you are. So, as a geek, you are not socially concerned at all, which tends to mean you don't have many friends. But, kind of as a geek, that tends not to matter so much, because what really matters to you is the stuff you give up those potential friends for. You do what you do because you love it that much, or because you don't especially care about having friends because you're just not that sociable. Neogeeks are socially concerned. As Neogeeks, we consume what is popular. We consume what is recommended to us by other Neogeeks or other geeks. We consume anything and everything that looks fun. Okay then, it means that Neogeek pride isn't quite the same as geek pride. We don't seem to have as much pride in ourselves as individuals. But, on the other hand, Neogeeks get this huge community, of possibly unprecedented size, of people who feel like they're not the popular kids. But somehow we got this huge community of people who are so young and enthusiastic about, everything, all together, and all feeling cool and popular, despite what we kind of feel inside. The second defining feature, considering that each group kind of is based on the same stuff. They both like science, and they both like computers, and they both like fandoms. The second point is how. The way you interact with them. So geeks, they're more about quality. So you have a few select things that you're really interested in each field, and you kind of stick to those. You may take recommendations from people, like, watch Adventure Time, do it, but you're a bit more suspicious, you're a bit more connoisseur-like. Meanwhile, as a Neogeek, someone recommends something to you, you watch it straight away. For a Neogeek, it's all about quantity. You want to know exactly what everyone else is interested in, and see if you're interested in it too. It's all about community building, whereas geeks is all about connoisseurship. There's also another definition of geek, which is my least favourite. Another reappropriation of the word geek from the 80s meaning of kid who's really obsessed with science or computers or something, to meaning an enthusiast or expert on anything. That's just taken away all meaning from all of it. I hate that definition. I could say I'm a guitar geek. I can't play guitar very well, but I can still claim it. And so long as I can do my chords and sing along, people will believe me. That's the other problem with that one. It's so easy to claim. Hope you enjoyed that. I am done here. And yeah, if you want to talk about this, add anything, or just rant at me, then do comment below and I will have a go at ranting back politely.